Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Gen Politics. So, I wanted to talk about the new Real Clear Politics Electoral College map that was just put out a couple days ago. And this is the most recent map prediction of what's going to happen with the Electoral College in the 2024 presidential election. And it does not include toss up states. So, this is what they predict would happen today without the ambiguity of the swing states, the 7 of them that are in play. So as you can see, right now the prediction very good for Trump. 302 to 236. That is massive. That is a big chasm. So why is Trump winning so much? That's the question, because he's been behind in the polls the whole time, basically. But in this last week or two, he has shot up immensely. And you can see the only swing state that she won out of the 7 that are in play, the 7 are Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. The only one she's predicted to win is Wisconsin. And the blue wall states, these 3, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which Trump has to win one of those in order to win mathematically, he's predicted to win 2, which is pretty impressive. So what's interesting about this is you look at the polls. What's even more interesting than just the face value Trump's going to win thing is how he's going to win and how much he's going to win by. Because if you come down here, it shows the swing states in play. It shows currently what they're polling at and what the average is right now. And there's not much of a split. Like everything is within basically 1 point, plus or minus for Trump or Harris. And so that's very close on paper. But the interesting thing about Trump is Trump always outperforms the polls every single time. They don't have the 2016 polls here. For the predicted versus the real, they have the results. But if you look at the predicted 2020 presidential election result, like the predicted polling versus the actual results, Trump outperforms the polls by about 5 to 6% in these key swing states. In these other states, it's like you got what you predicted, right? The hardcore blue, hardcore red states. But even this, like, look at how Trump blew out Ohio. So like in the states that are up for grabs that usually swing back and forth, Trump always outperforms the polls. Yes, Biden won these, but look at how much he won by compared to what was predicted. Same thing in 2016. Trump, look at what Trump wins by, or Clinton is winning by. She was predicted to win a lot of these states by 8, 9, 10%. And so Trump always is outperforming the polls by 5 to 6%. So if you look at this map and you look at how close this is, but if you give Trump 5 or 6% more, that's scary, right? That is a scary number for the Democrats, for the Harris campaign. And that's why they're panicking about the internal polling. And you can see the panic through the leaks saying that he's up by 5 to 6% in a lot of these states. And then you can also see that through Kamala's actions. She's hidden away. She hasn't done a lot of interviews, but now all of a sudden she needs them. She wants another debate. She needs more attention. She went on 60 Minutes. Trump's going to go on Joe Rogan now. I'm sure he's going to invite her on, and she might have to do it. Even though she's incapable, she can't seem to give an interview without somebody hand-holding or giving her the questions. Could she sit down with Joe Rogan for 3 hours, who has a lot of very negative things to say about her and the current administration? I don't know. Probably not. But she might have to do it because that's how desperate they are. She's going on Bret Baier, and Bret Baier is like the squishiest Republican on Fox News, to be fair. But she would not have done that a month, 2 months ago, because they need it. They understand that she's in trouble. She's in trouble with these numbers. The internal polling is way worse than the external polling because, like I said, Trump always outperforms the polls. We don't have a good metric for why that happens, a good explanation or a way to counter it. A lot of it is people don't want to admit they're voting for Trump, or they change their mind later, or whatever, or just the fact that the polling methodology is not great. Hardcore political people are more likely to respond to polls versus like the active polls by these major, networks, organizations. People who are very politically involved, they care a lot, they're willing to respond. People who get a call about polling and they just don't really care that much, they're not going to answer, they're not going to respond, they're not going to go out of their way to do it. But that's where a lot of Trump's last minute support comes from. That's what happened in 2016 is a lot of the blue collar workers, the people who are not very politically savvy, they're not too interested in politics, but last minute they say, you know, I think Trump's going to make the economy better. I'm just going to vote for him. It's not like they're passionate. It's not like they're very, politically informed or very a diehard one way or the other. A lot of Trump's support comes from the last minute. I just like him better. Like, I think he's going to do a better job. Simple as that. No further explanation needed. So that's where the internal polling is showing that the campaigns are doing a better job of just polling regular people, not reaching out to people who are already very interested in politics or taking, polls from people who go out of their way to want to share their opinion, right? So that's why the numbers are always so off with Trump. There's never a, it's never as close as it seems on paper, right? Like, a lot of them, he should have been blown out of the water in 2016 and 2020. But even Biden in 2020 won by only slim margins, like a couple tens of thousands of votes in key states. And Harris is far less popular than Biden. Trump is far more popular than he was in 2020. The rose-tinted glasses definitely help, right? Grass is greener. Things were better under Trump economically, specifically with the border. There was no wars. And so the metric of whether you want to attribute that to him or not, it's unquestionable that things were better under Trump. Now, you could have said it was the remnants of Obama, and then, Trump just carried that through his term, and then the effects of his negative term carried into Biden's term. That's why everything's so bad now. It's just a delayed reaction. I don't buy that. Some people do. But objectively, things were better under Trump by basically every metric. And so people look back and they say, well, things were better, right? Like, things were cheaper. They may not have the fullness of understanding of why. They may not have a large grasp of economics, but they get the simple stuff, right? My paycheck was bigger. It went further. Everything was cheaper. I was safer. I felt, more passionate about my country. There was less wars going on. Everything was just kind of in a better place. And they wanted to try something different with Biden. It didn't work. Now, Kamala's saying she's going to be, at the same time, not change anything from Biden, as she said on The View. I wouldn't change a thing, but also is running as the change candidate because times are tough and we can't keep going like we're going. But she's in charge, so I don't know how that works. But I think people are really, really waking up to Trump. There was a kind of almost inorganic support. There's inorganic support by the media for sure. She cooed Biden. He's mad about that. He's trying to throw her under the bus now, and their campaigns are fighting the White House staff versus and Biden's administration versus the Kamala campaign because she cooed him. He wanted to stay. They said no. They got rid of him. They put her up. She was delegated by the party. She was not elected. No vote was cast for her in a primary at all. She was just chosen. So there was a lot of inorganic support for her, rushed her through. And the people, they said, okay, this is fine. We'll go with this. And then they realized she can't give an interview. She's not good at it. And every time she comes out to give an interview, because she needs to, because nobody knows what she believes in, she's flip-flopped a lot. When she comes to do that, she makes things worse for herself. And then the polls drop, and then she has to do more interviews, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And now I think the final nail in the coffin is going to be Trump going on Joe Rogan for, it's going to be like a 3-hour podcast, I'm sure. He's going to get asked a lot of very serious questions. It's going to be informal, so they can really dig into a lot of stuff like patriotism, nationalism, the government, the secrets of the government, and how we're going to trim the fat on that, and how he's going to stop the wars, and all this sort of stuff that he doesn't really get to say in a proper interview because they just go question to question to question. It's not a train of thought sort of thing, and he doesn't really get a lot of pushback at his rallies, right? There's not somebody asking him specific questions typically, sometimes at town halls, but usually they're pretty basic. Like, Joe Rogan's going to get in the meat and the potatoes. The problem is Kamala can't get in the meat and potatoes if she goes on Rogan because she doesn't have a basis. She's flip-flopped on everything, and I don't think she actually believes in anything. Her ideas are crazy. That's why they're not saying them. They're not going out there and telling them, because either they don't have a plan or her plan is insane and they know people won't like it one way or another. That's why they're hiding her. And I think Rogan would just rip her apart and get right through that. So I think Trump is only going to rise in the polls. I think it's going to be a big blowout, which is necessary. Trump has to win in a blowout, like an absolute blowout. Even this, to me, 302 to 236, is cutting it close in terms of you need an absolute blowout for people to accept the results of this election. I think whoever wins, the other side is going to be furious. They're going to want investigation. They're going to say it's not real, not my president. Whatever side wins, right? I think it needs to be such a blowout that there's absolutely no question that Trump won. If Trump wins, or Kamala won, right? But right now it's looking like Trump will win in a blowout. And if Trump wins the popular vote too, that would be great, because I hate hearing this nonsense about, oh, we need a popular vote. She won the popular vote like in 2016. If Trump wins the popular vote and he wins by over 300, that would be very solid. That would instill a more likely chance of a peaceful transition of power, a lot less litigation, a lot less problems, riots, whatever. So right now it's looking very good for Trump. The betting markets also have him up. He's been going up in the betting markets, and that's a good indicator, because they're actually, the betting markets are typically better than the polls, because people are doing their own research and investigation, because they're putting their money where their mouth is. The pollers don't have vested interest, right? Not an incredibly intense amount of vested interest, but the people who are betting their life savings on who's going to win the presidential election are really interested in knowing who's going to win the presidential election. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they have Trump up by, I think last I saw was about 6.6%, which is a pretty big margin, especially for Trump, because he, was not performing very well. But I think the honeymoon phase with Kamala is wearing off. Nobody knows anything about her. Every time she comes out, she fumbles. Like in 60 Minutes, she went down the poll immediately after that. The media is turning on her and saying they don't know anything about her, and she won't answer any questions. She won't give any interviews. They're starting to get really sick of her, because the media was told, this is the candidate and you're going to accept it. You don't get to vote. There's no freedom here. There's no democracy. That sacred democracy is out the window. We picked her, the powers that be, and that's who you're going to support. That's who the people are going to vote for, because we told them to. And I think that is rubbing people the wrong way. Trump is just overwhelmingly gaining support rapidly, and especially in these swing states. If he won all 7 swing states, that would also be major. The reason for why she wins Wisconsin, I'm not entirely sure. Pennsylvania and Michigan, I think, is the most likely to go for Trump, because Kamala usually has the Arab voting bloc. Michigan has a huge Arab population, and they're not going to vote for her. They said they're not going to vote for her. They didn't say they're going to vote for Trump, but a vote against Kamala or not for Kamala, when traditionally they would have voted Democrat, is, de facto +1 for Trump. That's kind of just how it works. So I think Michigan's would be a good lock. The auto industry, she's destroyed that. They want to send all the jobs overseas. They want to make everything electric by force. Trump's all against all that. So I think Michigan's going to be the most likely for him. And like I said, he needs one state. The rest he's doing well in. He's doing well in Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona. Nevada, probably, that's the most likely, I think, to go Democrat of these southern states. Of the blue wall, I think Wisconsin is the most likely, because it seems Pennsylvania, he's up ahead the most in Pennsylvania, according to the polls, by from what I've seen, the aggregate of the 3 blue walled states, I believe. Let's check that again. So it says he's actually up more in Michigan, but from what I've seen, typically everything's 1 or 2 points, and he's been up by 2 points in Pennsylvania recently compared to 1 point. Not a huge difference. Hard to tell for sure, right? All these different polls get it wrong a lot of the times, and you look at the aggregate and you do the best you can to look at the averages. But I think this is a good position for Trump. I don't think this map's going to change very much. Like Wisconsin might go, any of these swing states might change, but more than likely the only ones that will change is Nevada. Pennsylvania might go blue. These 2 might go blue. Michigan probably will go red. I don't think any of the southern ones besides Nevada would go blue. I don't think anything else on this map is going to change. I don't think Texas is going blue. I don't think Virginia is going red. I don't think Colorado is going red, or New York or Minnesota. Those are like the far-fetched, claims of the Republicans. They say like these 4 states have a chance of going. I don't buy it. I don't really think that's going to happen. It would take a lot. It'd be surprising. It'd be cool. I know the residents of these states are very upset, especially New York, about the whole border and immigrant thing, but will they show up enough to contest it? Probably not. So we'll just have to see. I'm interested in how these polls are going to change over the next couple of weeks, because we're down to the wire. less than a month away. We're going to have a lot more political ads. That changes people's mind. The more ads people see, the more likely to vote for somebody. You're going to have these interviews on Joe Rogan. You're going to have a lot more just interviews in general. People coming out of the woodwork to say who they support one way or another. If you defer your opinion to celebrities or talking heads, I think that's going to happen more as we get closer. But right now, this is a huge margin, looking very good for Trump. The momentum is on his side now. The ball is in his court. He just has to run away with it. Harris has to do something, and she has to do something major to fix her plummeting numbers, right? There's got to be a stopgap. That's got to be a big interview or town hall or something that makes her look good. No teleprompter, no staged questions, because every time that stuff comes out, it's pretty obvious that every time it comes out on X, and it just makes her look bad with independents. It makes people not like her very much. So I don't know what the campaign's plans are for the last stage, but I'll keep you updated when I find out. And I really appreciate you watching, listening to me. If you like the video, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.